The explosion tore through the night like thunder made of fire. 1 second I was standing in my driveway, the next my house was bleeding smoke, every window glowing red. Karen was screaming somewhere behind the fence, her voice slicing through the chaos. "You killed him. You killed my son." I didn't understand what she meant. I didn't even know she had a son. My hands were trembling, covered in blood that wasn't mine. The sirens were getting closer. The world spun, and all I could think was, this can't be happening again. They said the house was cursed. They said no one should live there. But I didn't believe in curses. I believed in second chances, and I thought restoring that broken mansion would be my redemption. I was wrong. What I found inside those walls shouldn't exist. It wasn't human. It wasn't dead either. And now it's free. Every second you're not watching this, someone else might die because of it. Stay until the end. You'll see the truth. You'll see what Karen saw before she vanished. My name is Ethan Cole, and this is the story of the house I should have never bought. I first saw the house on a cold, gray morning. It sat at the end of a narrow street, hidden behind iron gates choked with ivy. The for sale sign was hanging sideways, half buried in weeds. The listing said it was built in 1873. A century and a half of dust, rot, and forgotten stories. But I didn't see any of that. I saw potential. I saw redemption. My name's Ethan Cole, by the way. Remember that, because soon you'll understand why people stop saying it out loud in this neighborhood. The mansion was cheap. Almost too cheap. $57,000 for 4,000 square feet of history. The agent didn't even try to sell it. She just handed me the keys like she wanted it gone. "You can't sue the previous owner," she said. "He's unavailable." Her eyes didn't blink when she said it. I should have walked away right then, but I didn't. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the thought that if I could save this house, I could save myself. I'd just gone through a divorce, lost my job. I needed something that couldn't walk away from me. When I stepped inside, the air felt heavier. The wooden floors moaned like something alive. Wallpaper hung in shreds. A chandelier dangled from one chain, swaying even though there was no wind. I took a breath and said out loud, "This is it." And the echo came back, a whisper that sounded like "don't." That first night, I slept on the floor with my backpack as a pillow. The electricity didn't work. My phone kept losing signal. I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of water dripping somewhere upstairs, but when I went to check, the pipes were dry. What wasn't dry was the footprint on the landing. Wet, bare, and small, like a child's. I told myself it was old plumbing, maybe a leak. Maybe I was hearing the house settling. You tell yourself those things when you don't want to be afraid. But every story I've ever told myself about bravery started with a lie. Morning came. The sun sliced through cracked shutters, lighting up dust like falling ash. And that's when I saw her, across the street, standing perfectly still, arms crossed, watching me. Karen. Blonde hair pinned to tight, clipboard in hand, judgment written all over her face. She didn't wave. She just mouthed something. I think it was leave. 3 hours later, I found a notice on my door from the HOA. Property violation, unsafe structure, demolition recommended. It had her signature at the bottom. That's when I realized I hadn't just bought a house. I bought a war. Coming up, the first night, I heard the voice in the walls. And the reason Karen started screaming in the middle of the street. That night, the wind sounded wrong. It wasn't the soft hum of branches or the occasional creak of old wood. It was something alive. Something that breathed with the house. The kind of sound that crawls under your skin and sits there, whispering that you should have left when you had the chance. I tried to convince myself it was just the storm outside, but the storm was only in my head. The air outside was calm, the trees motionless, and yet, from deep inside the walls, I heard it, faint at first, a slow rhythm, like footsteps pacing the attic above me. "My name's Ethan Cole," I muttered to myself, half joking, half to remember who I was. "This is my house now." I thought saying it would make me feel in control, but it didn't. It sounded like I was lying to the dark. At 1:43 a.m., the lights flickered on for the first time since I moved in. Just for a second. Long enough to show me that every picture frame on the wall was now crooked. I hadn't hung them. I hadn't even unpacked them. I heard something drop upstairs. Not a soft fall, a slam. I grabbed a flashlight and went to check. The air grew colder with each step. At the top of the stairs, the beam of light cut through the dust and landed on a door I didn't recognize. I was sure there were only 3 rooms on that floor, but this door, it hadn't been there before. It was pale blue, peeling, locked from the outside. I touched the handle. It was warm. And then I heard the whisper again. Closer this time. Don't. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a loose board. And that's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. A child's voice. Why are you in my room? I froze. Who is this? The call ended. I ran downstairs, heart punching through my chest. I opened the front door just to breathe real air. And there she was again. Karen. Standing on the sidewalk in her bathrobe, phone in hand, watching my house like it was a crime scene. You shouldn't be in there, she said. Her tone wasn't angry anymore. It was fearful. What's your problem, Karen? I snapped. I bought the place legally. She stepped closer. You think that matters? Her eyes darted to the attic window. You have no idea what's in those walls. I laughed, a stupid, nervous laugh. Ghosts. Her face didn't move. Worse. And she walked away. The next day, I started working. I stripped wallpaper, pulled up rotted planks, painted over stains that wouldn't fade. Every layer I peeled back felt like erasing someone else's memory. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the house didn't want to be restored. Tools went missing. Doors I'd locked were open in the morning. And every time I tried to turn off the main breaker, the lights flicked back on by themselves. By the third night, the noises became conversations. Whispers running through the pipes, words I couldn't fully catch. Sometimes it sounded like my name. Sometimes it sounded like crying. I recorded it once, just to prove to myself it was real. But when I played it back, there was no whisper. Only static. Then, under the static, a voice. A man's voice this time. She's coming for you. That was when I started keeping the lights on. Karen stopped pretending she wasn't watching me. Every time I stepped outside, she was there. Watering plants that didn't need it. Checking her mailbox 10 times a day. Writing something in her little black notebook. I caught her taking photos of the house once. When I confronted her, she smiled and said, HOA Records. But I saw the tremor in her hand. Then came the first letter. No return address. Just a folded piece of paper slipped under my door. Inside, a single sentence. Demolish it, or it will demolish you. I burned the note, but the smell stayed in my clothes for days, like old wood and blood. That night, I decided to explore the attic. I'd avoided it until then, but the door that had appeared, the pale blue one, wouldn't leave my mind. I brought a hammer, flashlight, and camera. The steps groaned as if warning me to turn back. When I reached the door, it was already open. Inside was a small, empty room. The air was thick and hot, despite the cold night outside. On the floor, a single rocking chair, still moving slightly, like someone had just stood up. On the wall, scratched letters, deep, uneven, desperate. I traced them with my flashlight and read the words aloud. Don't let her in. I didn't sleep after that. Coming up, the first time I met Karen face to face in daylight, the day she told me what happened to the last person who owned my house, and the part where I found the basement that wasn't on the blueprints. Morning came slow, heavy, like the sun itself didn't want to touch that house. I'd been awake all night, sitting on the stairs, flashlight dying in my hand. The words on the attic wall burned into my mind. Don't let her in. I didn't know who her was, but part of me already guessed. When I fully stepped outside, the air felt strange, thick, almost humming. Across the street, Karen stood by her mailbox again. This time she wasn't pretending. She was waiting for me. I walked over. She didn't move, just stared at me through those cold, sharp eyes. You look like you didn't sleep, she said. Because I didn't, I answered. Karen, what the hell is going on with this house? Who's her? Her lips tightened. She looked around like she was checking if someone else could hear. Not here. They listen. Who listens? I asked. But she was already walking away. Karen. She stopped halfway down the street, turned, and whispered just loud enough. Come to the community center tonight, 9 p.m. Don't bring your phone. Then she was gone. I spent the rest of the day pretending to work, but every hammer strike echoed too loud. Every shadow looked too long. At one point, I thought I saw someone standing inside the blue room again, but when I looked, it was empty. By 9 p.m., I was there. The community center was an ugly, fluorescent-lit box. Karen was waiting by the back door, alone. She didn't smile when she saw me. Sit, she said, pulling out a metal chair. If you really bought that house, you deserve to know what you're living in. I sat, The chair felt like ice. She unfolded a newspaper clipping from a folder. This is from 1984. Family of 3, husband, wife, and daughter, vanished inside that house. Police found the place locked from the inside. The wife's fingernails were embedded in the wood of the attic door. I swallowed hard. And the daughter, Karen's face twitched. Never found. But neighbors said she still called the landline for weeks after. I stared at the photo. The house looked the same. Same cracked windows. Same iron gate. I've seen things in that neighborhood, Karen continued. Lights that move without a source. Voices from drains. Once, a man from the HOA went in to take pictures for insurance. He came out with all white hair. Never spoke again. She leaned closer. You think this is just a story, but you heard it, didn't you? The whisper. I hesitated. Yes. That's not the house, she said. That's her. Who is she? Karen didn't answer immediately. She rubbed her temples, like even saying the name would hurt. They called her the widow, she said finally. She built that house after her husband died in the fire. But she never stopped hearing him. People said she tried to bring him back, through rituals, through blood. Then she disappeared. Her body was never found. Only that blue door upstairs. Locked from the outside. My throat went dry. You think she's still there? Karen's eyes hardened. I don't think. I know. And she doesn't like when men move into her house. Every man who try. She paused. They didn't last long. Before I could ask more, the lights flickered. All of them. For 1 second, the entire room went black. When they came back, every chair but ours was turned upside down. Karen stood abruptly. It knows you're here. Karen, what do I do? Demolish it, she said flatly, before it decides you belong there too. I wanted to laugh, but the sound died in my chest. When I came back home that night, my front door was open. I knew I'd locked it. Inside, every light was on. The radio was playing static, the kind that sounds like breathing. Then I heard a soft knock upstairs. 3 knocks. Then silence. I went up slowly, every step creaking like a countdown. The blue room door was wide open, and this time, there was something inside. A single photograph lying in the middle of the floor. I picked it up. It was a picture of me, standing in the attic. From behind, someone had taken it that morning. My heart stopped. I spun around, shining the flashlight at every corner. Nothing. But I swear, I could hear someone breathing. Coming up. The night Karen broke into my house. The night she told me I wasn't the owner anymore. And the night the widow finally spoke to me. It started around midnight. The hour when silence becomes heavy enough to crush your thoughts. I was sitting in the kitchen, staring at the photo I'd found in the attic. My own back, my own house. I checked every window, every door, every inch of the yard earlier that day. No one was there, but someone had taken that picture. My name is Ethan Cole. I keep reminding you because sometimes I forget. The longer I stay in this house, the harder it is to hold on to who I am. That night, the wind wasn't blowing. Yet, every window shuddered like something massive was walking past outside. The clock on the wall stopped ticking. Then, I heard it. The faint scrape of metal on glass. Someone was at my kitchen window. I turned off the lights and grabbed the hammer from the counter. The scraping stopped. Then, from behind me, a loud crash. The back door splintered open. Don't move, I shouted. The figure froze in the dark. Then a voice. It's me. Karen stepped into the thin beam of my flashlight, eyes wide, face pale. Her hair was wet, like she'd walked through a storm that didn't exist. You need to listen, she said, panting. She's awake. Karen, what the hell are you doing in my house? She's awake, she repeated, almost screaming. You opened the door. I lowered the hammer. What door? She pointed upstairs. The blue one. I felt the air drop 10 degrees. It was already open. No, Karen whispered, stepping closer. It only opens when someone lets her in. Something cracked above us, a beam groaning under invisible weight. We both looked up. The ceiling dust fell like snow. Karen grabbed my arm. We have to seal it. Now. She ran upstairs, before I could stop her. I followed, flashlight shaking in my hand. When we reached the attic, the blue door was closed again. Only this time, a faint red light pulsed from beneath it. Karen took a piece of chalk from her pocket and started drawing symbols on the frame. Fast, desperate, like she'd done it before. Don't talk, she hissed. She listens, but the house was already listening. Every wall seemed to breathe. The boards under my feet flexed. I could hear faint laughter coming from behind the door. A woman's voice. distant but real. Karen's hand trembled as she drew the last symbol. She wants you. That's why she showed you the photo. What does she want? I whispered. To finish what she started. The light under the door flickered. The handle turned slowly, though no one touched it. Karen pressed her palm against it, whispering something I couldn't understand. The metal hissed like it was burning her skin. She screamed and stumbled back. Then the door burst open. There was no wind, no explosion, just a deep, impossible cold. The flashlight went dead. I couldn't see anything, but I felt it, a presence, inches away, watching me. The smell of wet earth and iron filled the air. Karen was on the floor, clutching her hand, crying. Ethan, she gasped. She's here. A whisper brushed against my ear, so close I could feel the breath. You shouldn't have come. I swung the hammer blindly. It hit the wall. Sparks, splinters, nothing else. When the light flickered back on, the blue room was empty again. The door hung open. No light, no figure. Just the sound of a slow heartbeat pulsing through the walls. Karen looked at me, terrified. She's attached to you now. What does that mean? I said, shaking. It means you don't own the house anymore, she whispered. You belong to it. She stood up and limped downstairs. You have one night to get out. After that, she decides. Before I could stop her, she ran into the rainless dark. I tried calling after her, but her figure vanished between the shadows. The next morning, I found her car still parked outside. The door open, engine running, but Karen was gone. Only her clipboard lay on the seat, soaked with dew. On the top page, one sentence scribbled in shaky handwriting. She's inside the walls. That's when I heard it. Tapping, faint, rhythmic, from every direction, like fingernails against wood. Coming up, I find what Karen left for me in her house, and the secret that connects me, her son, and the widow. The morning after Karen disappeared, the street was too quiet. No dogs barking, no sprinklers hissing, no cars driving past. Just that tapping, soft, patient, everywhere. It followed me through the halls as I packed my things. Clothes, documents, tools. Though deep down I already knew I wasn't leaving. Not yet. My name is Ethan Cole, and I think I finally understand what this house wants. Across the street, Karen's house stood open. The blinds moved, though the air outside was still. Her front door was cracked, like she'd been pulled out mid-scream. I should have called the police, but what would I say? My neighbor broke into my haunted house and vanished after arguing with a ghost. No one would believe that. No one ever does. So I went in. The smell hit first, old perfume and bleach, the scent of fear trying to clean itself. Every surface in the living room was covered in newspaper clippings. The same house, over and over. Headlines like "Man found dead in restored property. Local realtor vanishes inside historic estate." The same address, mine. On the kitchen table lay a thick binder labeled HOA Incident Reports. I opened it. The handwriting inside wasn't Karen's neat cursive. It was frantic, slanted, almost carved into the paper. Subject: the widow. She feeds on men who try to fix what's broken. The house chooses them, not the other way around. I tried to warn them. I always try. Underneath the words was a photo. Karen, standing with a teenage boy. Her son. Same blonde hair, same sharp eyes. But his smile looked off, too tight, too forced. And behind him, blurry but visible, the outline of a woman in black standing by the mansion's gate. My chest tightened. I flipped the page. There was a police report from 2 years ago. Missing person: Daniel Turner, age 16. Last seen entering 1873 Ashwood Lane. My address, reported by mother, Karen Turner. Her son, the one she'd accused me of killing. I dropped the file, heart pounding. Everything spun. The whispers I'd heard at night. The child's voice on the phone. Why are you in my room? It wasn't random. It was him. There was more. A folded map taped to the inside cover, marked with red ink. It showed a section of the mansion's foundation that didn't match my blueprints. A basement, hidden. I drove back home before I could lose my nerve. Every shadow looked alive. Every sound stretched longer than it should. When I stepped through the front door, the tapping stopped completely, as if the house knew what I'd learned. I moved fast. Found the old cellar door beneath the kitchen rock. It had been nailed shut, dozens of rusted nails hammered in from the inside. It took me an hour to pry it open. The air that came out was thick, cold, wet, like breathing through soil. The flashlight beam cut through the dark. Stone steps led down to a narrow hallway. The walls were lined with jars, hundreds of them. Inside, pieces of dolls, dried flowers, locks of hair, each labeled with a name, some faded, one still fresh. Daniel Turner. I felt my stomach turn. I almost ran, but then I saw it. At the end of the hallway, a wooden door identical to the blue one upstairs. Same peeling paint. Same shaped, but this one was chained shut. I stepped closer. The temperature dropped. My breath came out white. A faint light seeped from the gap beneath the door, pulsing like a heartbeat. I touched the chain. It was warm. Then, a whisper. Help me. A Bose voice. I stumbled back, flashlight flickering. Daniel, I said, voice shaking. Is that you? The whisper came again, louder. She's pretending. Don't. And then, over his voice, another one, soft and slow. A woman's. He's mine. The chains rattled violently. The jars on the shelves began to crack. I turned and ran, tripping up the steps, slamming the door shut behind me. My heart felt like it would rip through my chest. When I looked back down, through the gap between the boards, I saw light moving, like something crawling beneath the floor. I sat there for hours, shaking, until the sun came up. When Ashley looked outside, something new was standing in my yard. A tombstone. Freshly dug earth. No name, no dates. Just one word carved into the stone. Welcome. Coming up. The day I dug under that tombstone. And what I found buried there that changed everything I believed about Karen. And myself. The morning light felt wrong. Too yellow, too slow. Like it didn't want to touch the house. The tombstone was still there, standing in the middle of my front yard like it had always been there. The ground beneath it looked freshly turned, damp, almost pulsing. The word welcome carved into the stone seemed deeper now. I stood there for a long time, shovel in hand, trying to convince myself this was a prank. But the air was too still. No birds, no insects, no sound at all. Just me, the house, and that stone. My name is Ethan Cole. I don't know how much longer I can keep saying that before it stops meaning anything. I started digging. Each shovel of dirt came up heavy, wet, smelling like old copper. About 2 feet down, the soil turned darker, almost black. Then the shovel hit something solid, wood. A box. Small, not a coffin, but not a tow chest either. Something in between. I knelt down, brushed the dirt away, and lifted the lid. Inside were bones. Small ones. Too small. A child's. Wrapped in fabric that might have once been white, now stained brown and red. Beside them, a single item, a gold locket. I opened it. 2 photos. One was Karen, younger, smiling, holding a baby. The other was the widow, unmistakable, her black dress, her dead stare. But they weren't separate portraits. They were side by side, 2 halves of the same locket. My hands went cold. The shovel dropped. I stumbled back, gasping. Karen and the widow. Connected. But how? Then, a voice behind me. You shouldn't have done that. I spun around. Karen was standing by the gate, but she didn't look right. Her face pale, her eyes sunken like someone who hadn't slept in years. Her hands were shaking. You're alive, I said. She smiled, a sharp, broken thing. I told you. She doesn't let go. I stepped toward her. What is this, Karen? Who's in the grave? She looked past me, toward the house. My son. But not anymore. What do you mean not anymore? She took him, Karen whispered, piece by piece. I tried to bring him back, the way she did with her husband. The rituals, the blood, but she lied. The widow doesn't get back, she trades. I felt my stomach drop. Trades? Every man who dies in that house feeds her, she said. Every soul keeps her alive a little longer. I thought if I finished the ritual, I could get Daniel back. And did you? Karen's eyes filled with tears. He came back, but not as my son. A sound rose from the grave, soft at first, then louder. A wet, choking sob. I looked down. The bones were gone. The box was empty. Karen took a step back, trembling. She's awake again. The soul started to move, like something underneath was breathing. Then, from beneath the dirt, a small hand pushed through, pale, thin, trembling. A child's hand. I stumbled back, heart hammering in my throat. The hand curled, reaching toward me. Then another followed, and slowly, ahead, eyes black, skin gray, mouth twitching. It looked like a boy, but not. Its face was wrong, twisted, stitched with shadows. Karen screamed. Daniel. The thing turned toward her. Its mouth opened too wide, Mom, I'll never forget that sound. It wasn't human. It wasn't alive. It was hunger. Karen ran forward, crying, reaching for him. I shouted, "Don't." But it was too late. The thing grabbed her wrist. The ground opened, swallowing them both in one violent pull. The earth sealed itself instantly, like it had never been touched. I dropped to my knees, shaking, screaming her name. Nothing answered. Only the whisper of the wind, or maybe the widow herself. "You freed her." The tombstone cracked down the middle, and the house behind me groaned like it was exhaling for the first time in years. Windows shattered, the front door slammed shut, and from inside, I could hear voices, dozens, maybe hundreds, whispering in unison. Welcome home. I didn't go inside that night. I sat in my truck till dawn, staring at the grave, waiting for it to move again. It didn't. But the next morning, the tombstone was whole again. No crack, no sign of what happened. Only one new detail, my name now carved beneath the word welcome. Coming up, I finally stepped back into the house, and what I find there proves that Karen was right all along. I never owned the house. It owned me. I stared at the house all night. My name etched into the tombstone glowed faintly in the morning light. Ethan Cole. It was mine now. Or maybe it was hers. I didn't know which. The air smelled wrong. Coppery. Sharp. Almost alive. I had no choice. I had to go inside. The front door groaned when I touched it. I hesitated. The whispers came first. Soft, almost melodic, like a choir of the dead. Ethan. They called my name. Ethan. Coming. My chest tightened. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream, but curiosity, and something darker, pushed me forward. Stepping over the threshold, the house swallowed me. The hallway stretched unnaturally, longer than it should have been. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision. Every picture frame I passed showed different faces, not portraits of people, but of things half human, half something else. Eyes that followed me. Smiles that twisted when I blinked. I told myself, I'm Ethan Cole. I'm in control. But the house laughed. The floor shifted beneath my feet. Walls seemed to pulse, breathing with me, or maybe at me. Coming up, I would soon see the first true manifestation of the widow. And it was nothing like I expected. The living room was empty. Or it looked empty. I ran my hand over a dusty couch. Dust swirled in the air, forming shapes. Faces. Screaming faces. I screamed back, but it echoed and multiplied, coming from every corner. My own voice sounded foreign. I was Ethan Cole, but I was not me anymore. Then, I saw it. At the end of the hall, a figure, the widow. She didn't walk, she floated, her black dress dripping into the floor like ink. Her eyes glimmered, gold flecks spinning in the darkness of her irises. Her mouth opened slightly, as if tasting the air around me. Ethan, she said my name softly, invitingly. I could hear the bones in her laugh before the sound reached my ears. I froze. My heart pounded. I wanted to run, but the floor stretched impossibly long. It was like trying to run through a dream, each step heavier than the last. Every time I blinked, she moved closer. Her hands were long, thin, tipped with nails like knives. I could see veins, pulsating darkly. She was waiting, patient, hungry. I tried to speak. Words failed me. I don't want this. She tilted her head. Do you? Her voice was both gentle and deadly, soft as silk, sharp as glass. This house has wanted you for a long time, Ethan. You don't own it. You belong to it. And one. I belong to it. Coming up, I would find out the first choice I had to make in this house. One choice. To horrific outcomes. No escape. The hallway opened into a room that should have been a library, but it was filled with cages. Not birds or animals. People, shadows of people, translucent, moaning, chained to walls. I recognized faces from the cemetery, faces I thought were gone forever. Karen, her son, my neighbor, Mr. Hargrove, all trapped, all waiting, all looking at me with hollow eyes. Do you see now? The widow whispered, floating above me. You wanted a house, Ethan, but houses take what they want. They take lives, souls, everything you hold dear. My mind spun. My head pounded. I wanted a house. I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to fix something broken, but all of it, every dream, dissolved in the reality of this room. The cages rattled. The trap whispered, choose, choose. I had to make a choice. Step forward into her power, become her vessel, the next owner of this cursed domain, or step back and try to destroy the house. But destroying it might mean dying, or worse. I could see flames in the corners of the room. Smoke whispered promises of death, but also of release. Coming up, I would make my first real move in the house, and it would change everything. I took a step forward. My hands trembled. My voice barely a whisper. I want to save them. The widow's smile widened. The cages quaked. Shadows surged like liquid around her. Then pay the price, Ethan. Pay with yourself. The floor cracked beneath me. Smoke rose from the seams. I could hear bones snapping somewhere far away, or maybe inside the walls. I felt my soul pulling in every direction, like the house itself was trying to rip me apart. Karen's voice echoed faintly. You can't save him. You can't save anyone. I fell to my knees. My hands touched the floor. The house seemed to breathe through me. Ethan Cole, it whispered again. Will you serve or resist? Coming up, I would see the house's true hunger, a manifestation of every soul it consumed, and I would have to confront the darkest truth. My own survival depends on surrendering. Then, the room shifted. The cages broke apart. Shadows twisted, forming shapes like serpents, snakes coiling around me, whispering names of the dead. I screamed, trying to pull away, but my feet were rooted. My own arms moved against me. I could see my reflection in the shadows. Not Ethan Cole, not human. Something darker, hungry, twisted. The widow descended slowly. Her eyes bored into mine. One choice, she said. One step. Her fingers grazed my forehead. Pain exploded in my mind. Memories, screams, visions of every soul taken by the house. Every tragedy, every betrayal. All of it is yours now. I felt my heart stop, then start again. I could hear the chains breaking in the distance, whispers forming into a scream. Do it, or die. I made a move. One step forward. The shadows engulfed me. The cages dissolved. The whispers merged into one voice. Hers. Welcome, Ethan Cole. You are home. And just like that, I realized the house doesn't want to kill me. It wants me to live inside it, to feed it, to expand it, to be part of it. My name wasn't on the tombstone anymore. It was in the walls, in the floorboards, in every shadow, in every echo. I was home. Coming up, the real nightmare begins. Because once you belong to the widow's house, leaving is no longer an option. And the choices you make now will ripple through everyone you've ever known. I woke up lying on the cold floor of the floor. My body felt wrong, heavier, colder, as if something inside me had been replaced during the night. My hands trembled, but they weren't entirely mine anymore. Veins blackened under my skin, pulsing faintly like ink moving through glass. I sat up. The house was silent, too silent. Then I heard her, the widow, whispering from everywhere at once. Ethan, the time has come. Choose. I looked around. The walls had changed. No more peeling wallpaper, no more dust. Everything was perfect now, polished, glowing faintly with a golden sheen, as if the house had rebuilt itself overnight. But when I looked closer, that gold wasn't paint. It was veins, living veins, spreading through the wood like roots, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. I walked through the hall. Every portrait now showed me, in different eras, in 1920s clothes, in a 1950s suit, in a 1970s work uniform. All the same eyes, all the same expression, despair. The widow's voice drifted closer. They all chose Ethan, just like you will. I stopped at the end of the hall. There were two doors, one black, one white. The black one pulsed softly, almost breathing. The white door glowed faintly, humming like electricity. I knew what they were. I didn't know how, but I did. The black door meant becoming hers, living forever inside the house, a vessel, a caretaker. The white door meant fire, destroying everything, releasing the trapped souls, ending the curse, but burning with it. Both choices meant death. One slow, one fast. Karen's voice echoed faintly. You can't fix what's already dead. I closed my eyes. My name still echoed faintly in the walls. Ethan Cole. Ethan Cole. It was almost mocking now. I thought about why I bought this house, about how cheap it was, about how desperate I was for a second chance. And then I realized, the house didn't find me by accident. It ticked me. It knew what kind of man would walk into it willingly. Someone broken. Coming up. I was about to make the choice, but before I could, the house decided to test me. The lights flickered. The floor cracked. A scream echoed from the basement, a child's scream. Mom. It was Daniel's voice. Then another voice, Karen's. Ethan, help me. I staggered back. The sound came from below the floorboards. I tore them open with my bare hands, splinters digging into my skin. A gust of cold air hit me like a wave of death. There was a tunnel below, twisting, glowing faintly red, like the inside of something alive. I climbed down. The deeper I went, the louder the voices became. I saw flashes of faces in the walls, people I'd seen in the cages, now screaming silently as they dissolved into mist. And then, in the center of the basement, I saw it, a giant heart. Not human, not animal, the heart of the house itself, beating slowly, wet, heavy. The widow stood beside it, her dress fused with the walls, her face serene, her voice almost kind. This is it, Ethan. Every life this house has taken, every soul, feeds this heart. You can mend it, or you can join it. I raised the shovel, my old, dirt-stained shovel from the yard, the same one I'd used to dig up Daniel's grave. I could end it. Right here. One swing. But then, the heart started whispering. Not in words, in memories. My mother's face, my father's voice, the laughter of someone I once loved. Things I thought I'd lost forever. It offered them back to me. Stay, it said, and you can have them again. I felt my grip loosen. The shovel dropped. The widow smiled, stepping closer. You see, the living never truly want freedom. They want comfort. They want belonging. And now, you belong to me. I looked into her eyes, saw thousands of faces screaming behind them. Karen, Daniel, the man who'd sold me the house, every owner who'd ever come before, all trapped, all begging me to stop her. My mind split, one half screaming run, the other whispering stay. Coming up, the final decision. I had seconds to act. I screamed, grabbed the shovel again, and swung with everything I had. The blade sliced through the heart. It burst open like 1,000 lungs gasping for air. Blood sprayed the walls, black, thick, burning. The widow shrieked, a sound like glass exploding inside my skull. The whole house convulsed. Flames erupted from the floor. The portraits melted. The screams turned into one massive roar. The widow's form flickered, twisting, collapsing into ash. I stumbled backward, choking on smoke, my vision fading. I could see light, real daylight, breaking through the windows for the first time since I'd arrived. The air shifted. For one moment, everything was still, silent, free. Then, I felt something pull at my chest. I looked down. My skin was cracking, glowing faintly like embers under the surface. The house wasn't dying. It was transferring into me. The heart's final whisper. You can't destroy what you've already become. The fire rose. My body burned, but I didn't feel pain. Only clarity, only truth. The widow was gone, but her house wasn't, because now, I was the house. The last thing I saw before everything went white was the front gate creaking open. A young couple standing outside, looking up at the burned ruins. The man smiled. It's cheap, he said. And deep inside the ash and smoke, I whispered, welcome home. Coming up, the ending you didn't see coming. Because death wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The world went dark, silent. Then something began to hum, deep, ancient, inside me. It wasn't a sound. It was vibration, like the slow heartbeat of a sleeping god. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't on the floor anymore. I was the floor. The boards beneath my sight pulsed with my breath. The air itself obeyed me. I was no longer Ethan Cole. I was the house. At first, I tried to scream, but there were no lungs to scream with, only walls that shuddered. My thoughts echoed through the empty rooms, bouncing endlessly. I could feel everything. The cracks in the ceiling, the dust motes floating in the hall, the faint wind pressing against the windows. And far away, footsteps. Someone was outside. My mind flared, instinctively reaching toward them. The door creaked open before I even wanted it to. Sunlight cut through the broken frame and landed on the dusty floor. A woman stepped in first, young, bright-eyed, her hand gripping her boyfriend's arm. They laughed softly. They were just looking, exploring. I tried to warn them, go away, please. But all that came out was a faint whisper through the walls, welcome. They froze, looked at each other. The man laughed nervously. Old houses always make weird noises. He took another step inside. That's when I realized. I could feel his heartbeat, his warmth, his fear. Every pulse inside him vibrated. In the beams and panels were now my body. I could take it. I could feed. And something in me wanted to. The widow's voice was faint, somewhere deep within my structure. You understand now, Ethan, we don't die. We endure. Her tone wasn't cruel. It was tender, like she was proud. I pushed against it. No. I ended you. She laughed. Did you? Look around. You killed the shell, not the seed. And she was right. I felt her everywhere, not as a person, but as energy, a rhythm inside the walls, inside me. Every beam hummed with her presence. Every creak carried her whisper. The house wasn't a prison anymore. It was a body. My body. Coming up. The new owner arrives. And this time, it's not by accident. Days passed, or maybe weeks. I couldn't tell. Time didn't move normally here. The house slept when I slept, dreamed when I dreamed. But every so often, I felt something new approaching. People passing by, glancing at the property, drawn in by its strange beauty. The curse wasn't gone. It had evolved. One evening, I heard a car door slam. Footsteps. The same couple returned. They walked the yard slowly, whispering about potential and renovation. The man brushed the dust off a cracked window. It's not so bad. Just needs a little love. The house moaned softly. I didn't mean to, but the sound made them pause. The woman tilted her head. Did you hear that? He shook his head. Probably the wind. They stepped closer to the door. I felt the handle turn. And with it, my pulse quickened. The door swung open by itself. Creepy, she said. They both laughed. And then they crossed the threshold. The moment they did, I felt alive again. Truly alive. Every spark of energy in their bodies entered me like a current. Their excitement, their fear, their curiosity. It all became fuel. The walls shimmered faintly. The dust lifted. The air grew warm. The widow's voice purred, low and soft. Feet. Ethan. It's what we are. I tried to resist. But when I heard them whisper about tearing down the old walls, about gutting it and starting fresh, something snapped inside me. I felt the beams above them shift. Nails groaned. The chandelier trembled. The man looked up. What the hell? The chandelier fell. It shattered the floor where they'd just been standing. They screamed. And I felt it. Their terror, thick and electric, flooding through me like adrenaline. For a moment, I was drunk on it. Then, guilt, cold, crushing. I didn't want this, but I couldn't stop it. The widow whispered again, soothingly. You can't fight what you are. You are the house now. You will protect it. You will keep it alive. And that means taking. I could see everything. The way the shadows crawled toward the couple. The way the floorboards beneath them began to breathe. The woman fell to her knees, sobbing. Please. We didn't mean to. Her words were cut off by a sudden gasp as the floor opened beneath her. The man tried to grab her hand. He screamed her name, but the board swallowed her whole. He turned, bolting for the door. It slammed shut before he reached it. He pounded, screamed, kicked, but I didn't move. I didn't let him move. Every sound he made filled the hall like a heartbeat, faster, louder, until silence. Then I felt his last breath fade through the air, his body collapsing. And once again, the house was calm. I hated myself. I was myself. I was the curse. Coming up, the revelation, how the widow's story began, and why she needed me. In the quiet that followed, memories returned that weren't mine. The widow's life, her husband, building the house in 1874, the betrayal, the affair, the night of the fire. She died in the basement, trapped under falling beams, clutching her son's locket, her soul fused with the house out of sheer refusal to let go. And now, I was her continuation, not her prisoner, her heir. I whispered into the empty halls, what happens now? And the house, my house, replied in my own voice, we wait. The sun rose. The air shimmered. Somewhere down the street, a realtor's sign appeared again. For sale. I felt the wind slide through the cracks in the door like a whisper of opportunity. And deep inside my walls, the widow, or maybe I, smiled. Welcome home. I sit alone in the dust. The house hums beneath me. A living thing, breathing, watching. My hands touch the cracked walls, cold, smooth, alive. I remember the chaos, the screams, the fear, every heartbeat, every sound, every pulse. I survived. Or so I think. The widow's voice whispers faintly, almost a memory. Do you understand now? I close my eyes, try to picture my old life, the man I used to be. It slips away like smoke. Gone. I'm not Ethan Cole anymore. Not really. The house is part of me. I am part of it. I wonder what I've become. Powerful? Cursed? Blessed? I feel guilt. I feel awe. I feel hunger. The walls around me shift slightly. A breath. A sigh. I can hear the city outside. Distant. Small. Irrelevant. And then, a sound. Sharp. Sudden. The front door creaks. Slowly. I don't remember leaving it unlocked. No footsteps. Nothing. Just the door. I stand. Slowly. Tentatively. I reach for it. The walls pulse around me. A cold draft slides through the cracks. Something moves in the corner of my. A shadow. Not mine. Not human. I step forward. Heart thundering. The floor beneath me groans. I can't see. I can't hear. I can only feel. The shadow moves closer. Watching. Waiting. Then. A crash. A light. Blinding. The world tilts. I scream. Silence. Everything stops. The house is still. The air is empty. The walls are quiet. I am alone. Or maybe not. The front door swings wide. Nothing stands there. Nothing moves. A chill runs down my spine. And then, the locket the widow had once clutched slides from the floor. It spins. Flashes. Stops. Opens. Inside. A photograph. Someone I shouldn't recognize. And before I can react, the lights go out. Total darkness. A whisper, barely audible, drifts through the walls. Your turn. The floor trembles. Something shifts beneath me. I fall. Silence. The camera would cut here. Black screen. No explanation. No closure. Only the echo. The house is alive. And now, I am part of it.